Welcome to the Revolution Roundtable, a discussion of life, faith, and scripture. We are people just like you, living real, often messy lives, and we're committed to helping each other live a little bit more like Jesus every day. Let's join the roundtable now. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Revolution Roundtable. I'm Nate. This is my good buddy Matt.
Hi there.
And we're excited to be hanging out with you today. How you doing, Matt?
I had dental work today, so this side of my face is a little bit like numb.
Is it still numb?
Yeah.
Nice.
So if I sound funny or talk weird or just start like drooling out of this side, just go with it, man.
We'll make sure our other camera's like nice and tight on that side of your face.
And get all the head.
So all of your adoring Matthew Paul fans can see that.
Right.
I love it because you're wearing a shirt that says famous enough.
Famous enough.
Actually, that's a cool shirt. Can you kind of explain that shirt?
All right. So basically, this shirt means famous enough. So it's basically, and then down here on the bottom, it says, rather be known by God than by men. And as someone that is a 3 Enneagram that very much lusts after approval of others, I need this reminder a lot.
That's really cool. I
need to be known by God rather than men. So.
Nice. My wife is a 3 Enneagram. Maybe I should get her that shirt.
Well.
Maybe I should get it for myself. As a 7 Enneagram, as a person who likes to be the center of the fun.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, hey, it's been a little bit since we've done this.
It has.
We've been in the midst of a busy summer. Our summer of collaboration at Revolution.
Which is winding down.
Yeah.
Right?
I think basically this is the end.
Yeah.
And we're excited to welcome our lead pastor, Anthony Gazzello, back this Sunday. So, hey, shout out if you're in the area, or even if you're not, you can watch online, but join us at Revolution this Sunday, 9-11 a.m. It's going to be a big party. But we're here today, again, at Black Dog Coffee here in downtown Logansport. We got our nice, pretty foo-foo drinks.
Strawberry cream frappes, baby.
They are quite wonderful. So shout out to Black Dog.
No doubt.
I know Scott Johnson, the owner's around here somewhere. So thanks for letting us hang out.
Right.
And enjoy foo-foo drinks and talk about nonsense. But hey, so we started a new series at Revolution last week. You actually spoke and kicked it off. You did an incredible job.
Thank you.
We'll link to that in the show notes. First week of this series we're calling Travel Light.
Right.
This was kind of your idea. It's based on the scripture from Mark 6,
right,
where Jesus is sending out his disciples like into the world, basically, 2 by 2, I think. And he says, basically, take nothing with you.
Which is nuts, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like I want you to go and do this job, but you're not allowed to take anything that's going to make you comfortable. Yeah. You're not going to take anything that's going to bring you any sort of pleasure, any sort of joy.
Or even like security.
Yeah.
Like he's like, don't take any money.
Right.
Don't take any extra clothes. Don't take food.
And it goes on to say, if someone lets you in your house, just stay there.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so.
So this big mission of like go into the world, because he'd not yet, but was going to give them the Great Commission of go and make disciples of all the nations. So go into the world, right? But here he says, take nothing with you.
Right.
Travel light. And
now he did tell them to go out 2 by 2.
Yep.
Because it is better to do things better together, right? So
Absolutely.
It's better to go on this mission.
Don't
go with a partner. Don't do it alone.
Yep.
And that's something that we hold firm in Revolution, is that we're doing this. We're better together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it does speak to that. But this whole idea of take nothing with you, and it's like, in that moment when I read that, I mean, I spoke about this in the talk, but it was like, bam! It's like God was just like, there's a thing here, man. You need to pay attention to this. Yeah. There's a thing here. And it just sort of hit me that we do that. We drag so much with us all the time.
All the time.
I mean, all the time. And it's like, whether that's, emotional baggage from a relationship, or, if you've been hurt in a former job or a former church or whatever, you bring all of that with you into your present self. And it's not good.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of us probably drag even more. I think we drag sometimes our own expectations of what something should be before we even know the reality.
Yeah.
Like we put a reality or an assumption or an expectation on something before we even know really what it is.
Right.
You know, my daughter and son started school last week. My son's kindergarten, so it's his first year going to school.
Right.
And he's all sorts of excited. He brushes his hair and gels it in the morning. He's like, Dad, I'm ready. My hair's gel. I'm ready.
Nice.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Sorry, I could go on and on about that. But,
Right.
but like, he had this expectation of what school was going to be, mostly because his sister had already gone. And since she started talking at the age of like 12, 14 months, has never stopped since.
Yeah.
And so he knows exactly what he was getting into. But my daughter, on the other hand, did not, because she was the oldest. And when she went to school, like, I mean, you know, we told her about it, but she didn't necessarily trust her parents. Parents don't know anything, right? So she had this whole expectation of what it was going to be, and it was very different for her in a good way.
Right.
But it just, as we've been working through that, and Barrett is learning what school is and all this stuff, like, it made me think about that. Like, you know, we go into situations all the time. We put these weird thoughts or expectations of what it's going to be. And sometimes they're proved correct, but oftentimes they're not.
And a lot of times you think something's going to be much worse than it's going to be, and it turned out to be this incredible blessing.
Yeah.
It could be the exact opposite, you know,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes you go into something you think it's going to change everything, and it's a bitter disappointment. And then, you know, then there's that. But there's also the fact that, you know, sometimes,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's an interesting way of looking at it, though.
Yeah. Another example, I guess. So my wife and I lead a life group. And in order to start our life group, we had to leave the life group that we were in before, which we loved. We had great friends with. Still great friends with those people, obviously. But, you know, it was cool to be able to hang out with them regularly. Our kids played together all the time.
Right.
And all loved each other. It was great. But we had to, like, leave that life group in order to start our own. But starting this life group has been incredible because we've developed these new friendships. We still have our old friendships, and they're still very valuable to us, but we've been enriched by these new friendships. So people we kind of knew, but not really that well.
Right.
And now we're super close with, and our kids are also super tight with. And yeah, but that was something that, like, I think my wife and I had a lot of anxiety about, because we're like, oh man, we're leaving these people that we know we get along with.
Yeah.
Are we going to get along with these new people? Who knows?
Who knows? Right.
But it has been really, really great. So shout out, if you've ever thought about starting a life group, here's your sign. Go start a new life group.
There you go. There you go. No, I remember one time I had a job opportunity to work at a 50,000 watt station and do the morning show and be the promotions director. And it was this incredible opportunity. And when I got into it, it turned out to be like the worst thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I had this expectation that it was going to be, you know, more money and more fame and more this and more that, and it turned out like that job was so mentally taxing. It made me hate Fridays.
Yeah.
Because I had to come back and do it Monday.
Yeah.
And it was just the worst. I mean, that had this trickle down effect to, you know, my wife and our kids. It was bad. But going into it was his expectation of, it's going to be awesome. You know, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Absolutely.
an incredible opportunity for me, and it wasn't.
So we had a guest speaker, Mark Malin. Shout out, Mark, if you're listening. Thanks for being with us this last Sunday.
Did a great job.
From Northview Church. He did an incredible job. And he talked about this idea of simplicity and kind of like, and this can apply in a lot of areas, right? But he used the example of, you know, we're always wanting more.
Yes.
You know, the more we have, the happier we'll be.
Right.
And he did a great job talking about it, but I know our life group met Sunday night and we talked about it, and there was a lot of like, yeah, but.
Yeah. See, that's funny because like my talk is, the one I gave is like, yeah, I want to give up this stuff. Like, you know, aren't you tired of dragging all this?
Right.
You don't have to. Jesus tells us that you don't have to. Like, that's why I'm here.
And that stuff, it's exciting to give up.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I want to drop it right now, man. Yeah, do it. Yay. And the Mark comes along and he's like, yeah, let's talk about, you know, sharing our cars and sharing our boats and sharing our houses and share. And, you know, this message of simplicity. And I thought, we're going to get pushback on this, man. This is a tough pill to swallow.
So I thought it was interesting as we talked about it in our life group. Like, the general consensus was like, yeah, we're in agreement, but not really. You know what I mean? Like, not really.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was interesting. Like, I guess, I don't know. The question that I came back to is if we believe something is true, but we're not really ready to like embrace it, do we really believe it's true? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like,
Yeah.
I'm still wrestling with that. Like,
Right.
I've been thinking through, okay, like, and he had the quote, the art of simplicity or the act of simplicity, whatever, is prioritizing what we value the most
Yes.
and eliminating the things that distract us from that.
Yes.
Or from those things.
Right.
Which got me thinking hardcore ever since. Excuse me. So, you know, for me, for example, one thing I value very highly is music.
Yes.
Creating music, writing music, playing music, which I get to do a lot of. It's awesome. But I still want to do more all the time.
Yeah.
And at home, I'm like, oh man, I have like great ideas that I could write songs around or whatever. But I never do anything with them. And my excuse is, oh, I don't have time. I'm too busy. And yet, like my phone told me the other day, because it just pops up and tells me unasked or whatever, unrequested, here's how much time you spent like staring at me this last week. And I was like, well, that sucks. Because it was like, I don't remember. It was like 9 or 10 hours.
It's hours and hours and hours.
It was so much time,
It's
Matt.
so depressing.
I was like, wow, I make poor life decisions. And I'm like, okay, let me think about what I actually, okay, like some things I like have to do for work maybe or whatever. Some things are like responding to communication for important things that I do value. But then I was like, you know what? There's plenty of that time that is not.
Yes.
Plenty of time that is not. I mean, like, I like to get on Instagram and just scroll through Reels or TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I haven't looked. I'm sure it will tell me how much time I spent looking at that one app. And I have not looked because I don't want to feel that guilty about myself.
Right.
Because I know what the answer is.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I've been thinking about. And I'm not saying that thing is like TikTok or Instagram's bad. Like it's not.
And that was Mark's point is this stuff isn't in and of itself bad. Like it's not bad to look at Instagram. It's not bad to look at TikTok. It's not bad to have a big house or any of this stuff. That's not bad.
Right.
But when it gets in the way of what's important, that's when it becomes an issue.
Right. And what if the 3 hours of the week I spent doing that or whatever that number is, it's probably not 3 hours. It's probably way higher. What if I took that 3 hours and spent that writing music, which I say I value the most? Or what if I spent that time doing something new and fun with my kids?
Right.
You know, which I value the most, or with my wife, or I don't know. So I've been thinking a lot about that.
It makes you think, right?
It's definitely, you know, it's a churchy word, but convicting.
Right.
Like it slapped me in the face a little bit. So I guess like, you know, as I've been wrestling through that, you know, and we're not here to make anyone like just feel bad about themselves.
No.
But at the same time, we want to engage with truth, right? So like, how do we do that? You know what I mean? Like how do we, not how, that's the wrong question. What is it like? What does it take to say, all right, this is something I value the most, and so here are things that maybe don't contribute to that, and I need to eliminate them or minimize
them as much. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how do you like? What do you think? What are ways you even go about doing that?
Well, that was part of what I talked about was distractions and what's distracting you from those important things, and you know, Mark elaborated on it, but I think one of the things you do is you minimize those things into, okay, so you have an app on your phone that says this is where you're spending your time. Yeah. All right, if Facebook's number one, maybe take it off your phone.
Yeah.
You know, if TikTok's number two, take it off your phone. Yeah. You know, maybe that's where you start.
Yeah. And Mark gave some great suggestions too, like, you know, have a garage sale.
Yeah.
You know, if you can share, you know, we talked about that a little bit. But yeah. Interesting.
I think that's why I like this idea of traveling light, just because it is kind of, you know, to use that word, it's convicting, but it's also practical.
Yeah.
And it's like it's meant to have a purpose of freeing you from all these things that are dragging you down and that are pulling you down. And, you know, I I think it's so true that one day it's like you just realize, gosh, I am exhausted. I'm so tired of just life, and it's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know any of this stuff. And it's like, well, start here,
Yeah.
Give up some of this stuff.
Yeah. What, and we're going to continue talking about this, on Sundays at Revolution for the next couple of weeks, I think, but, and go into some more practical and deeper aspects of it. But one of the things I thought was interesting, again, as we were talking with our life group a little bit, just the idea that there is a little bit of like, whoa, or not whoa, but like maybe just like not a lot of, I can't wait to dive into minimizing the things that are distracting me in my life. You know what I mean? Like it's something that isn't exciting to do. Is that like, do you think that, and we talked about even that idea of like kind of feeling convicted about or whatever. Do you think that that's mostly because we kind of already know this to a degree?
I think so. I think if you ask someone right now, what's the biggest distraction in your life?
Yeah.
Or even if you mention a distraction, people know exactly the first thing. I honestly believe that.
Yeah.
Like I think deep down we know exactly what the biggest distraction in our lives is.
Interesting.
It's just we want it.
Yeah.
It brings that. It's a chemical brain thing that it brings dopamine. It brings pleasure, and it's like it's hard to shut that down.
Yeah. It's interesting to go back and think like, if nothing changed, but Jesus had an iPhone with TikTok. Like, what would that look like back then? You know what I mean? Like, that's random, but yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's something I know. I like I said, I'm continuing to work through. Like, what does that really look like? And honestly, it was good for me to even ask the question: what do I value most? Like, there were some things that were obvious. My family.
Yeah, wife, kids.
Yeah, my ministry. I value
your ministry,
very
your
highly.
relationship with Jesus, like all that stuff.
Yeah. But then I was like, what are the not so obvious things that I still value? Like I have a friendship. I mentioned this before. My friend Alan, who lives in Texas, he actually came up to visit for a week. It was super fun having him here. But like, I value that friendship. And so we play video games together. And I don't necessarily value video games that highly.
Right.
But I value our time hanging out.
But you value that connection through
and so,
video games,
an hour and a half playing video games each week or, every couple of weeks, whatever, like, I value that because it's time with him,
Yeah.
What are some of those things in your life you feel like?
I'll tell you what.
I mean,
I have actually, and one of the things that's kind of hit me recently, just because I have someone very close to me that's going through a thing, is my health, and becoming to be, and as much as like especially guys, like we don't want to deal with that sort of.
Yeah, we don't really like to think about it.
No, but it's given me pause, to think, and okay, you need to make some changes. Like you need to start doing things differently.
Interesting. Yeah.
This aside,
yeah.
This notwithstanding,
it tastes great.
It does taste great. But like I drink way more water now. Like I have one of these big things. What's it even called? It's a Awala. Yeah. It's like this big
Something
metal
like
cask thing.
Everyone I know that has one is like cultish about how much they like them.
I'm not there.
I mean, they're pretty cool.
It's pretty cool
because their whole thing is you can
gulp it or you can
sip it. It has like a straw built in, but it's not like a straw. It's like built into the. I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah,
they're pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, but yeah, I mean, I'm drinking way more water now, and it's like it just that sort of thing. I didn't really ever think about it before.
Yeah, Probably 90% of people drink too little water.
Yeah.
It's an easy thing to miss.
For real.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've been continuing to think through what are the other things that what are the things I say or think that I value versus the things that what I do with my time shows that I value. That one hit me like pretty hard too. Like if I say I value spending time with each of my kids and collectively, but also individually, and I was like, I don't remember the last time I did something like with just one of them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
You know what? I'll tell you though. Like right now, my daughter is she has her learner's permit, and so her and I have been going out in the evenings, and she's driving.
Oh, bless.
You know, yeah. So it's basically in parking lots and such. But it's been such a great time for her and I to kind of connect because we don't do a lot of that. And it's not because there's a wall or anything. It's just she has her stuff, I have mine. Yeah. And we don't get a lot of opportunity to kind of meet in the middle and hang out together.
That's cool.
And this has given us the opportunity to do that. And it's like, yeah, this is one of those things that I absolutely value and cherish.
Yeah.
You know?
That's really cool.
Yeah. And then like, Cooper, my son, we started watching, for some reason, he really got into the NBA this year.
Wow.
Just randomly.
Nice.
And so we watched the finals, and he and I have been like going to the parks a few times a week and shooting hoop together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. Who's your thing to do?
Pretty much. Except he's a fan of Brooklyn Nets, and he loves Kevin Durant. So
that's fair, I suppose. I couldn't even tell you. Like, I feel like in the last 3 years, every player that I was vaguely aware of, because I'm not a big basketball guy,
right,
has moved to a different team.
Yeah,
I just don't know where any of them are anymore.
Right.
I always cheer for the Spurs because I grew up in South Texas, like in the golden age of the Spurs. Yep. I met the Admiral, and of course got to see Tim Duncan, and all those guys, Ginobili, Tony Parker.
Yep.
I remember going to my very first Spurs game with friends. We sat like on the second row, so we were right off the floor. Yeah, it was incredible. And they were playing the Houston Rockets. And I remember the Rockets came out first, and they had Yao Ming.
Yeah.
If you remember that, was he Chinese, I think?
Chinese. 7'6".
7'6", and he walks out, and I was like, oh my gosh.
He's gigantic.
And then the Spurs walk out, and they had Duncan and Robinson, and I can't even think. But I was just like, there's a bunch of them that height. That doesn't seem fair, but go Spurs. But I was just like, these people are giants.
They are.
And I was like, I don't know, I was like 13 or 14, so I wasn't fully grown, but I was probably almost 6 foot by then. And I was just like, I feel like an ant next to these giant, except Tony Parker, who was basically my height. Right. But yeah, anyway. Well, that's really cool, though. So I guess, like in the case of kids, that just, it shifts along with time.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And I think it's important. I mean, just, this is a sidebar to that, like as a dad, I think it's important that if your kids find something they're into, like help cultivate that, not fight them, you know what I mean? Yeah. Even though it's not something that you're into. Right.
Maybe just be into it with them.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barrett is really into dinosaurs. And I don't not like dinosaurs, but
sure,
it's been fun kind of learning about dinosaurs.
There you go.
And I was like, I remember some of this, and a lot of it has also changed in the last 20 years. But it's been fun to learn about dinosaurs with Barrett.
You should show him. You should say, watch this Jurassic Park movie. Yeah.
So
let's watch dinosaurs.
Interestingly enough, on the way to school today, my daughter asked me, because she was talking about her new friend she made on the bus, whose name she couldn't remember, because that's classic Layla. She makes friends, but she never actually knows her name. She's like, hey, girl, or hey, boy.
Yeah.
Anyway. And so she asked me, Dad, what's your favorite movie? And I was like, oh, I don't really know. I really like the Star Wars movies in general. Mm-hmm. So I can safely say my favorite movie franchise is Star Wars. So I just said Star Wars. And she's like, oh, okay. Barrett, what's your favorite? He says Star Wars and Jurassic Park. Now, he has never seen a Jurassic Park movie. But it's his favorite movie.
And how old is he?
He's 5.
He's 5, right.
Yeah.
Right.
They do have a Jurassic Park cartoon called Camp Cretaceous.
Yes.
Which is also pretty it's pretty intense at times, but it's really fun, and he loves it. He's all about it. So Jurassic Park is his favorite movie.
I feel like Jurassic Park would be scarring to a 5-year-old.
Probably.
It would probably immediately change his thoughts on dinosaurs.
That opening, it's not terribly bad, but that opening scene with the raptor going crazy and the guy going, shoot her!
Yeah.
Shoot her!
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he wouldn't sleep for a week.
No, absolutely not.
I had to get it was a good laugh. And he's like, Jurassic Park. I'm like, you've never even seen Jurassic Park.
What are you doing?
But hey, good taste. It's a great soundtrack too.
No doubt.
Anyway.
No doubt.
Cool, man.
All right. So, I guess as we go on, we have a couple more in this series of Travel Light. And I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see what's spoken into it, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And it never ceases to amaze me that one little line out of the book of Mark,
yeah,
and what it could, you know, go in, what it could blow up to be, and it just it's amazing what God can do with that little bitty thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to see what the rest of the series holds too. I know we're talking about looking at some of the stuff in our past, maybe 1 week, and looking at some of the things that we continue to carry, you know, throughout life, and how we can, you know, try to unpack those, you know, from our spiritual bag or whatever. But yeah, it's been really interesting so far, and it's been great conversation, which I feel like is one of the best things I can do is just generate conversation, right? So yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts?
No, I'm looking forward to hearing it. I'm looking forward to see what everyone else kind of brings to the table in this, and just to see what God does. And it's like, I didn't intend for this to be kind of a heavy thing, but it may end up that way.
Yeah.
Just because of what it's going to entail people to do and really look at themselves and really can maybe deal with stuff that they haven't dealt with in a long time. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it definitely could be heavy, but I think that, I mean, it depends on the person too. It depends on your willingness to.
But there's also
honestly look at yourself and think about those things.
But there's also a tremendous amount of freedom that can be found.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
In all of this.
Yeah, you know? It's great. And you know, it's interesting. Anthony was talking about. I was talking to him yesterday, and he was talking about this idea, like, man, this summer, the sabbatical. You know, I thought it was going to be one thing, but it ended up being a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
And he talked about, like, man, at one point I felt like I was walking through a desert and a jungle. I feel like I walked through a desert and a jungle and a mountain and all this stuff. And I was like, that's so funny because, you know, in our Wilder Life series earlier this summer, we talked about that idea that, like, so many of us want to avoid these wilderness seasons, but God He encourages us to embrace wilderness season, and He uses these seasons for a purpose. And I think this is the same thing. Like, God wants us to evaluate the things in our life, let go of the things we need to let go of, so that we can embrace the things we really want to embrace anyway.
Right.
You know, I think that, you know, any father would say, yeah, I want to be a great dad. I want to spend more time with my kids. I want to be a better husband, or, you know, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. It's very rare the guy that's going to say, nah, I don't really care about those things. But it is sometimes rare the guy that's, like, willing to unpack all that in order to do that. So,
what steps do I need to take to be a better husband and be a better dad and all that stuff? Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's good stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So don't be afraid. Dive in.
That's right.
Unravel a little bit. Unpack.
Right. Unpack it. Travel.
Unpack your giant bag.
Get rid of that stuff.
Definitely
like Mary Poppins emptying her bag.
Yeah. Talk about a bag.
Exactly.
Of course, that's the opposite of Travel Light. She carries a small bag with literally everything.
Everything in it.
But unless you're Mary Poppins, Travel Light.
There you go.
I definitely feel like sometimes the backpack on my back is like a Volkswagen or something.
Just maybe that should have been the hashtag for the series. I'm not Mary Poppins.
Oh man. Well, on that note,
yes.
Have a great one. We'll see you next time, Matt. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you.
As always, give us some feedback. You can go to revolutioncc.org/roundtable and shoot us feedback. You can also rate this podcast on your podcast platform of choice. But yeah, have a great time. Have a great week. I don't know why I said have a great time, but have a great week. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Revolution Roundtable. If you enjoyed this conversation, we'd love it if you consider sharing this podcast with a friend or leave a review where you listen to your podcast. We'd also love to connect with you. Visit us at revolutioncc.org/roundtable and let us know what you thought of the episode. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.